I'm going to call to order the meeting at 9:35 a.m. in accordance with the Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL Chapter 30A and Section 20. The open portion of the meeting will be held remotely, and members of the public will not be able to physically attend the meeting. It will subsequently be broadcast on youtube.com. Okay, first order of the meeting is to approve the meeting minutes of 3/30/2021 Board of Health meeting. Do I have a motion?
I'll make.
I'll
Doesn't-
second.
Okay,
I didn't know Mary was here. Sorry.
you just can't see her.
I know.
Okay, I'll take a roll call. Mary,
Yes.
Dawn,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. Okay. I need a motion to accept the health inspector's report and the read file.
I'll
Motion.
motion.
Second.
Dawn, right, Dawn, why don't you motion and I'll second?
Perfect.
Excellent,
Okay,
thank you.
and roll call, Mary,
Yes.
Dawn,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. Do I have a motion to accept the licenses as issued in the they're in the read file also? Okay,
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
okay, roll call, Mary,
Yes.
Dawn,
Yes.
myself, yes. The next agenda is to discuss the Recreation Department requests regarding policies to open pool and park. And I'm going to defer this to Dan to update us on that.
Perfect. Yeah. So last time we met, we tabled it because I was waiting to be able to actually sit down with Kathleen, which I got to do last week. And we basically decided as a group effort between the health department, rec department to open the pool specifically to the park program, which will run this summer, and swim lessons for some kids. And the reason behind that is just with COVID protocols right now, it'd be very, very difficult to open it completely to the public. We're hoping if things ease up throughout the summer, maybe we'll be able to readdress it and do some day passes and things like that for the people of the town. And that's honestly basically all we talked about, because that was the big issue, was the pool, because the state has put their guidelines on it, which are very restrictive. So we just wanted to hammer out all those details with the rec department, and now that's been done.
And if things should change, sorry, Chairman, through Chairman Barbara, Chairman White, if things should change, I mean, everything's changing month to month. You never know. It could all change by the time the pool's open anyway. So.
Exactly. That is very true.
Either way.
Yeah, right, correct.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure we need a motion on any of that. That was just something that had already been decided, and Dan wanted to bring the board up
Yeah,
to
just
speed.
a bit of an update.
And the next thing on our agenda is to discuss and determine the role of the board going forward as far as policy making versus managerial.
I'd like to make a motion to table this, only because I think that there's a new board coming in, and I think we should let the new board decide something like this. That's just my opinion.
Mary?
I thought that we had already discussed this a long time ago when we had decided, this was well over a year ago, that we were basically going to be just taking an advisory position, and that going forward, back in Alexis' day, that she was going to be handling all of the managerial position things that needed to be taken care of. And I thought this was something we already voted on quite a long time ago. I'm not exactly sure when it was. I'd have to go back and look through all the minutes and stuff, but this was something decided already. But
Okay, well, if we table it, then we can research it to see if it was voted previously.
Certainly.
yeah, I believe
Okay, and research it. Okay, so we'll table that. Part of that, though, is having who's signing, the bills and the things like that. As department head, Dan should have the authority to do that.
Absolutely, I agree. I spoke with Dan yesterday. I'm not sure, this is very vague as to the policy making, only not, managerial. It's very non-specific. I agreed. I said Dan should be treated like a department head. He should be able to sign everything. He's a department head and.
Right, and nothing can be spent beyond the appropriation anyway,
Right, right. So,
check and balance.
I mean,
But
if we could change the motion to table all the other discussions, but yet approve Dan to Lincoln, do you know if that's something that we could do or?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly treat Dan as the department head that he is. And I mean, it's up, this is a board decision, not my decision, but since you're asking for my 2 cents, I certainly think that he should have the authority to be signing bills like every other department head does. I can't think of another department head that doesn't have that authority. But for my information, I'm asking just because I don't know, was there, other than bill signing and approval of permits, I mean, sort of the day-to-day work of the health department, or are there other things that, I guess I don't know all the context of this conversation. I mean, what else would be tabled other than those 2 items, I guess?
Honestly, in my opinion, basically nothing. We just kind of wanted it for things like, say, like if I went out to dismantling, when someone hooks up to municipal sewer, that I'm the only one that goes out to the job site anyway and make sure it actually gets done. So in my opinion, if I was a board member, I probably wouldn't want to sign off on that because I wasn't even actually there anyway. So I just don't see the need of having that extra signature when I'm the one going out and doing the inspection.
Well, from my 2 cents, I would agree with you. I don't think, I mean, certainly I know, I'm sure, Dan, that you have been and will continue to keep the board, well updated about issues.
Yeah, of course.
And what's going on. But as far as, in particular, again, just my 2 cents, in particular, when it comes to sort of emergency or close to emergency situations having to do with sewage or a rodent infestation or something like that, I wouldn't think anything like that. Typically, you'd want to be waiting for a board meeting, but that you want to, give Dan the authority to take some action right away. But again, that's just my 2 cents since I was asked. So
I'll redact my motion, and then if the 2 new board members feel that they want to change something, then I'm sure they could bring the topic up. So I'll redact my motion, and I will approve if I'll make the motion to approve that the board only take a role as it says, the board's role is policy making only and not managerial making. I'll make a motion to accept that. And
Okay.
that's how it was worded, if that's.
Okay, and Mary's gonna second it. Okay. The only thing under that particular one is that the letter does need to go to the
Accountant, right? Yep.
who gets, who's able to sign and so on. They needed an update
Yep.
letter.
Sure. Yeah, that's what I do in my office too. I have to give Michael the authority to sign.
Okay, okay. And we're gonna let, and also,
Dina will do that, right?
Dana will have the right to sign bills too, if Dan's not around or anything. Okay, okay. All right, so do you have a motion to accept Dawn's motion? Yes,
Yes.
Mary, Dawn,
Yes.
and I will. Okay, okay. Can I have a motion to hold a drive-through rabies clinic at the Whitman Animal Shelter, 100 Essex Street parking lot on Wednesday, June 23rd from 10 to 12?
Yes, I'll motion that.
Sorry
Okay.
about that. I was reading something else. And I'll second.
Okay, any discussion?
Um,
Oh,
I think-
it's the best way to do it this year. Go ahead, Dawn.
Kudos to whoever set this up. I think it's great. We didn't have it last year. I have 3 dogs, cost me $300 and something, and other people too. So my kudos to whoever did set this up, and good job.
Good idea. Okay. So to accept the motion, Mary
I accept. Yeah,
and Dawn,
Yeah, yes.
and I will. Okay. Okay. I have a motion about just early in-person voting for the town election. How does the board feel? Yes or no?
I mean, I can explain it to you, but I'm gonna abstain from the vote.
Okay, Don. I don't have an issue with it.
I don't either.
Okay.
So
So we're gonna allow it.
made the motion.
No one yet. Is someone gonna motion to accept that? Well,
Okay,
motion,
Mary's gonna,
okay.
and I'll second it because John's abstaining. Mary,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. Okay. Okay, we have a motion to either to recommend adopting or not adopting the new Governor Baker Travel Advisory Protocol. Lincoln, do you want to speak on this?
Yeah, I can speak on this a little bit, and thanks for having me this morning. I appreciate it. I mostly just wanted to join just to, provide, I mean, obviously Don can provide any kind of information that's needed or asked for regarding in person. So I wanted to make sure, as I think the folks, everyone on the board knows, the Board of Selectmen did approve their in-person early voting for the week of May 10th to May 13th during normal business hours ahead of the May 15th election, pursuant to also the Board of Health approving it. So thank you for your approval of that. And regarding the current policy, I think everyone has a copy of what the current COVID-19 policies for employees has been, as adopted by the Board of Selectmen, certainly with very important input from this Board of Health. The change that the Board of Selectmen adopted last week, and then certainly it would be great to get your folks' input on this as well, would be to reflect the fact that in March, I believe it was March, late March, the governor's travel requirements and quarantine requirements after travel from non-exempt states and without the other exemptions that have been laid out in his policy or his executive order, I guess, that in March, late March, that requirement in his executive order became an advisory. And so prior to that, the town had adopted, the Board of Selectmen, again, with input from this board, had adopted a policy requiring employees to either quarantine and follow the quarantine if they go out of state, if they go on non-exempt travel, right? Or get a PCR test before returning to work, a negative PCR test. This change, as approved by the Board of Selectmen last week, would clarify that, would continue that the information in there about employees are urged to not pursue non-necessary travel, but would remove these quarantine requirements so that it would be in concert with the governor's change to advisory rather than quarantine requirement. But it also specifies in the language adopted by the Board of Selectmen that if the travel advisory things go back to being a quarantine requirement or test requirement, that we would also automatically revert to that for employees returning from travel. So in my mind, that really just, it really just reflects what the governor's change was in, again, it was March, I believe it was late March.
Yeah.
Dan?
I think it's a great idea to adopt the governor's, I guess, new plan per se. In that, I think it's also great that they already put that revision in there that they'll revise back to, if he kind of rolls back some of the things that he did and requires the quarantine again, instead of it being an advisory, that they will obviously go with that. I think that's the way to go, and I don't see a problem with this.
I just want to clarify one thing too. So when the quarantine or negative test result requirement was in there from the governor,
Yep.
Our town policy for employees specified that employees, before they went on a trip that was not exempt, to a non-exempt state, or was not exempt from the order for some other reason, that they needed to fill out a form, submit it to me. I also was approving it. And then they're also certifying that they have sufficient vacation time to do the quarantine, and or, wait for the test as appropriate, since it was optional travel, right? And the order was vacation time, personal time, then sick time. So all of that would go away. I'm not, this would no longer require a form to be submitted to me, because it's turned now into an advisory. And if it's an advisory, we don't want to be, more restrictive than the governor's. However, again, if it goes back to being a requirement and not an advisory from the governor, we would automatically revert to our old system,
So we're just gonna basically go by what the governor says.
basically, and get rid of the form, right? So if and when, this is fully approved, I don't need a form from an employee who is, traveling, doing non-exempt travel, because they're not required to quarantine when they get back.
Okay.
Do we need a motion on this, or?
Can I have a motion to adopt the new Governor Baker Travel Advisory Protocol as laid out by the,
And to remove the need of the form to Lincoln, right? You want that in there too, Lincoln?
Sure, yes, thank you.
I'll make the motion.
okay,
And I'll second it.
Mary seconding it, okay, a vote, Mary,
Yes.
Dawn,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. I'm going to discuss the opening of town hall by appointment only. Discussion.
So I can mention, or go ahead, Dawn, I'm sorry.
Well, I think that's something we've already kind of been doing. And the other thing, we had a public hearing last night in the building. So I'm a little confused why, the town hall can only be opened by appointment only, yet we can have a public hearing. And same like with us having meetings. Why are we having Zoom meetings if you can have a public hearing in the building? Why can't maybe start with, having, this might be off topic, but having meetings all in the town hall, do a soft opening, or, not just by appointment only, but a soft opening with all meetings being able to be held in different auditoriums. There's plenty of locations we could hold meetings instead of just by appointment only.
Well, I can speak to that, and certainly it would be great to get this board's input on that. So, but just to give a little history. So the Board of Selectmen has made the decision that they, at this moment, would like town hall to remain closed to the public until we are, as a town, are 3 weeks in the green. And as everybody knows here, we were a few weeks, we were in the red, we were a few weeks in the yellow, and then we're back in the red, but then back to the yellow. So, and that was, and they took that decision, the Board of Selectmen took that decision on the, on the advice back, I'm not sure, was it 2 months ago, from this board, that, that was the idea of, I'm not sure if you folks took a vote on it, but, clearly the consensus was 3 weeks in the green was the ideal for reopening town hall, for the consensus. And that was, again, a decision that was made by the Board of Selectmen. Subsequent to that, the Board of Selectmen, because of a request, the Board of Selectmen requested that, or decided, I should say, the Board of Selectmen decided that for subject to the decision of the chair of each board, commission, committee, that public hearings, that is to say, fully posted public hearings, typically being required that it be posted in the newspaper with abutters, et cetera. Typically this is relevant for the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Planning Board, sometimes the Conservation Commission. The public hearings, subject to the decision of the chair of that board or commission or committee, could occur in person. And the concern primarily was the difficulty in looking at maps and that kind of thing online. And that, you know, folks really wanted to be able to have, or at least some committees, some chairs of some committees really, and boards really wanted to be able to, their committee members, board members, to look at maps in person and to have that ease. But that, so the decision from the Board of Selectmen was that those public hearings, subject to the, you know, if that's what the chair wanted to do of that particular committee or commission or board, could be in person, and but that public meetings would still continue to be online or outside in person, but not in the building in person. So that was the decision that was made by the board, and I think it was made, I know it was made with, you know, with the input from this Board of Health. If so, what is part of the conversation that that was on the agenda last week with the Board of Selectmen in amending the COVID-19 protocols for employees and specific to travel. I also brought up with the Board of Selectmen the idea that, you know, if the decision continues to be that we will only be opening town hall after 3 weeks in the green, would the Board of Selectmen, you know, consider the possibility of, right now it says town buildings shall be closed to the public until further notice, except for emergency work. Members of the public may access town services in person by appointment only in designated areas outside town buildings and shall not be permitted inside town buildings.
Mhm.
What I had suggested to the board last week is, if, you know, the decision pursuant to the recommendation at the time from the Board of Health and the decision by the Board of Selectmen is that the town hall will remain closed until we're 3 weeks in the green, that, you know, would the Board of Selectmen consider just simply saying members of the public may access town services in person by appointment only, period. And that would allow staff, if they feel comfortable, to invite members of the public in to safe spaces with social distancing, obviously, with masks, et cetera, and allow people to come in and service the public in person, rather than having to do it, you know, outside in the rain or, you know, the snow. Hopefully no more snow this year, but, you know, in the rain, et cetera, in the heat, and give people that option and give staff that option if they feel comfortable. And the Board of Selectmen, I think, we're generally okay with that. But the reason I'm back here is because they asked, you know, me and Dan, for that matter, to go to the Board of Health to ask for your opinion and see if that makes sense to you. But in a broader sense, if the Board of Health wants to, you know, I don't want to presuppose your decision on this, but if the Board of Health wants to recommend that, you know, and modify its recommendation that we wait until the town has been 3 weeks in the green before we open town hall, and you want to say 3 weeks in the yellow, or X number of percentage of Whitman residents or state residents have been vaccinated fully, or use some other metric, I'm all ears. By all means, let me know, and I'll bring that back to the board. And if that means that the recommendation from the Board of Health is that town hall and other town buildings opens earlier, I'm very happy to bring that recommendation back to the Board of Selectmen. But they're right now operating under your folks, you know, previous decision that it should be 3 weeks in the green. So is that helpful? Does that help explain kind of where we're at a little bit from my perspective?
Right. Dan, what are your thoughts? Do you think 3 weeks in the green is unrealistic at this point?
After, obviously, it's been a couple months, Lincoln's right, it's been 2 months since we first recommended that. I think 3 weeks in the green might be, I don't know if I want to use the word unrealistic, but it might be something that I know I've been looking at it pretty deeply and have considered how we could change it. I've talked about it with, I think, just about everybody here, at least in some detail. And one number that I really like, well, not a number, but a metric, is percent vaccinated for Massachusetts. You can't really see by town, but you can see the overall population of Massachusetts vaccinated. And right now we're sitting at about 30%, but it's a little over 50% also have at least the first dose. So within the next about 3 weeks, we should hopefully see ourselves climb up to around that 50% range, which I think would be a pretty good target as far as maybe thinking about getting the town hall's doors open to the public in more than just appointments only. I think the appointment only, letting people come in and actually pay a bill in person, and like Lincoln said, having a designated area, whether that's, I know some of the departments have they're a little bit more set up to handle things like COVID than others, but also we have things like the downstairs meeting room that we could use for meetings in person. And I don't think, I think that's a good thing. I'm sure people want to get back in here and see some old friends. So obviously at the end of the day, it's going to come down to board voting, but I think I'm in favor of allowing in-person appointments in the town hall. And I'm also open to the idea of maybe reconsidering our initial guidelines of 3 weeks in the green and maybe changing it to a certain number of weeks in the yellow, or even going with the population of whether we want to use 50%, 60%. That would be something that the board can discuss in further detail, but I'd be open to possibly changing the guidelines a little bit. We're seeing a difference in the population who's has COVID right now. It's a lot of younger kids, not that that's any better, but it's not the elderly population who is most at risk has gotten their vaccinations now, at least the ones that wanted it. And every day we're learning more and more about COVID and how to take the precautions to avoid it.
Okay.
I personally like the 50%. I think
Mhm.
that's a nice round number, and I think it's reachable. The 3 weeks in the green at first was a great idea, and it seemed like it was reachable. But I don't think at this point, I think you won't be seeing that for maybe a year.
Yeah, especially with so the way that works is goes by town population, and with Whitman's town population, it's actually, I think, in my opinion, one of the hardest sizes of a town to actually land yourself in the green. That you have to be at such a small number of cases per week. You can see another town that will have the same amount of cases as us, but because their population is like 2,000 residents, they're in the green, even though they had just as many tests positive as we did. So I think it's just a lot harder to obtain. I think that putting a percent vaccinated rate on it also kind of gives it a goal that we can track and also prepare to open the town hall. And we kind of have, obviously it won't be an absolute set date because the numbers climb each day of people vaccinated, but it's at least something you can ballpark it.
Right.
And I'd like to go ahead, Barbara. Sorry, I'm sorry. You have the chair. So
So the fact that all of the employees have been vaccinated and everyone has the plexiglass. No, Don, everyone hasn't.
there are some
So
people who could not, and some people who chose not. So
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
I
I
could-
didn't.
I can add to that. So everyone at town hall has had the opportunity to be vaccinated if they so chose. We're working on Bob Curran. I've tasked Bob Curran with making specific improvements. I think we're pretty much there. And I'm going to follow up again with him today to nail down a deadline as to when those improvements will be complete.
Okay. I just know there's a lot of people out in the public who feel like, they should be able to come in, and do whatever they have to do. So maybe using the percentage that Dan mentioned about the vaccinating, I definitely would say by appointment only right now, but I do think we need to look forward, opening. Just my opinion. Mary?
Yeah, no, I believe that the public by appointment absolutely should be able to get into town hall at this point. There's just too many things that people need to get done that they can't get done. Or it's too hard for some people to do Zoom meetings and all this stuff. I mean, there are people who've never used a computer before. So I think absolutely it should be open by appointment now, and hopefully very soon. I think once vaccines get to 50%, we should absolutely open town hall to the public. I just feel like it's a big part of the community. People are, they need to have access to it. And anybody who wants a vaccine right now can go out and get one. You don't even need an appointment. Every day they're begging people to show up at these places to get vaccinations. So it's available. If people want it, they can get it. And if they don't, then, that's their choice. And then they can take extra precautions. You know, I understand that some people don't get vaccines because of health issues, but you know, then they'll have to be a little bit more careful, wear their mask and make sure they wash their hands after they have contact with people. But most people need to start getting back to normal for mental health too. You know, so that's my opinion.
Okay, so are we ready to have a motion?
Can I just add something real quick? Sorry. So I did, I had Jen call surrounding towns just to see like what they were doing and stuff, not for this, but for the early voting. And most town halls are open, but one of the things that I liked in the survey that she did was that most town halls had, they didn't just open, they had protocols in place where people had to go through like a sanitizer station, say, or they, we had, there was like a cleaning process in place, whether they had a person designated to clean after the customers left, not just for the safety of the employees, but for the safety of the next client that came up to the window, that you weren't contaminating other residents for, not wiping down the counters or things like that. So 99% of all the other towns had something. So in my opinion, when we do decide to open, I think we should put something in play or think about something, maybe with Lincoln or something, a sanitizing station, maybe just have one way in so that they have to go through and sanitize their hands, or somehow manage to keep the areas clean. So when the meetings happen, we just discussed this, today about, there was a hearing in here today, but nobody knows if the hall was cleaned. I think if a board is going to meet somewhere, I think it's up to the chairman of the board or the board members, take responsibility. This is your home, and to clean up after yourself and wipe down the tables after you leave, so that the next board that comes in for a meeting, it's, we have one custodian who's taking care of like 5 buildings. So whatever, maybe it could be put in his job requirements. I don't know, but
Well, I would, go ahead.
but I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting that the board themselves clean up after themselves. When I'm home and I make a sandwich, I wipe up the counter. I don't just walk away and say, have my mother do it or something, it just, my kids do that. But
Right.
Yeah, I think, sorry to interrupt. I just think that obviously when the town hall does open, each department will have to do their part and say, like, I know here, if I had someone come in to just schedule a couple meetings for, even say, I'll bring back the example of one of the construction crews in town wants to do a dismantling. If John Smith were to come in and just set up some appointments with us and fill out some paperwork, after he left, I know myself or Dina would take the liberty to just wipe down the table real quick. So when the next person did come in, they wouldn't have to worry about something like that. And of course, everyone will take the precaution of wearing a mask. I do agree with Dawn that maybe when we do open, just have 1 or 2 of the doors open for people to come in and sanitize their hands. And especially if town employees are getting their temperatures taken when they come into work, that probably guests should as well. Sorry about that.
If I could, Madam Chair, just 2 quick things. I think a sanitizing station is a great idea. I would say, I think in each department, I appreciate Dan bringing that up, because I do think in each department that there is going to have, I think there's going to be some expectation, a friendly expectation, for employees in each department to do some of that sanitizing. The simple fact is that, we are, we do have limited capacity from our great custodian at town hall, but he can't be wiping. There's simply no way that he's going to have the capacity, nor would I ask him to do that, to wipe down, for example, the collector's window after each transaction. So some of that is going to be, staff taking that on. Certainly if there are departments who want additional, particular wipes or cleaning supplies, let me know and I'll make sure that they get them, and that, and with Todd's help, our custodian, making sure that happens. I would say I'm not, it would be, since it came up, the temperature station, it doesn't work great, to be frank. And before town hall reopens, it would be great just to, not asking for a vote or anything, but it would be great to get a okay, even if it's informally from the Board of Health here, that, you know, maybe it's okay to take that down or to inactivate it. It isn't ideal.
Yeah, it's not super accurate.
It's not super accurate. You have to stand completely still in one place. You know, we've kind of had some issues with it. I think it was a great experiment, but you know, it would be great to have the board's sense of that and how important that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think people have to be, responsible for themselves. Anybody who's coming into the building is going to take their own precautions, whether they use the hand sanitizer, what they use when they get back into their own vehicles. You know, there are just some people that are much more comfortable going out and about and doing their grocery shopping. And there are other people who haven't gone grocery shopping in a year and a half. And I don't think those people are going to be showing up at town hall anyways. And hopefully the people who are showing up at town hall are going to be responsible for themselves. Use the hand sanitizer. We'll have it available, but you can't make people use it. Like they all say, you can drag a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So I think people have to be responsible for themselves and use the precautions that are available. But I think we need to start getting things opened up again. That's my
So
opinion.
my suggestion because it seems everyone kind of likes the idea of the 50%, maybe obviously we can have the vote on opening for by appointment only, and then maybe, I don't know if it would have to be a vote or exactly what we'd have to do, maybe make a vote on changing our guidelines from the 3 weeks in the green, if everyone was comfortable with that.
Yes, I'd be
Okay,
comfortable.
so can I have a motion that we open town hall by appointment only presently and change our metric for revisiting opening completely from 3 weeks in the green to a point where the state reaches 50% vaccination rate?
I'll proudly make that motion.
And I'll second it.
Okay. Mary. Okay, Mary vote
Yes.
Dawn,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. Okay. And Lincoln, you can let the selectmen know that we have changed.
Yes, and I apologize. I was a little distracted there for a minute. Can I just repeat the motion to make sure that I have it correctly? So the board motion that you're fine with having service access to town services by appointment only in person in the building, correct?
Yep.
Effective immediately, right? And that you recommend reopening town hall when 50% of Massachusetts residents are fully vaccinated.
Right.
And I
Changing
guess-
the metric.
Does that, I mean, I don't know, I'm not sure how that metric, this is a small point in, but I'm not sure how that metric works on the state. In other words, like, do they waiting a week? Is it still?
No,
wait?
that's
I don't know what.
that's something that's updated daily around 4
Right.
o'clock. We're sitting at about a 30.9% right now, actually. So I think today we'll see ourselves at 31 point, probably around like 6 or 7. Goes up a little under a percent a day is what it kind of seems to do.
Thank you, folks, for that recommendation, for that guidance. And can I just ask one thing? Is there any objection? I'm not asking for a vote, although you can take a vote if you want to, but of course, but is there any objection to disabling and possibly removing the temperature station? If there is, it's fine. I just want to, it would be great to get some guidance, some thoughts on that.
Dawn?
You can dismantle it, take it down. It's fine with me. I don't know if we need to make a motion. I think we should vote on it just to,
Yeah, I mean, if you folks feel comfortable voting on that, then that would be great.
I
But-
feel comfortable voting on it. I don't know about the rest of the board.
Okay.
I feel, yeah.
Okay, so we need a motion to remove, I guess, the temperature station at the handicap door.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
And I'll second
I'm
it.
gonna second it. Dan, what is your feeling on that before we vote?
Yeah, I don't think that's not something that bothers me. Obviously, we're all pretty aware that it's a little bit wonky and probably isn't super correct, so I don't see a problem with that.
Okay, so we're gonna take a vote. Dawn,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
and I will vote yes to remove the temperature station. Okay. Does anyone have anything else to come before the board?
I just want to get something out there real quick. Obviously, it's been in the public lately the past couple of weeks over at Family Dollar. There's a little bit of a situation. I want to clarify, it's about a field mice in the building. We saw it happen after the building next door. It's a Family Dollar, in between Family Dollar and 7-Eleven, was knocked down for the new construction. And I just want it to be known that the past few weeks we've been working very closely with Family Dollar, and every single day they're in there trying to better the situation. They have been. I can speak this past 7 days, pest control's been in there 3 times. I know people don't love to hear that. They think but they are in there and they're working on it every day. And the situation has gotten better and better each day. And it looks like hopefully we're coming near the end stretch. That we're getting a deep clean scheduled, that the building will probably be closed for a day, maybe 2, to do a deep clean and just kind of tie up any loose ends in there. And hopefully the situation will be under control. I just wanted to mention it on here because I know I'm sure some people in town are curious about what's going on over there.
Yeah.
And also, if you're about to adjourn, I'd just like to say thank you to Barbara White. People probably know that it's going to be her last meeting with us. I'm deeply saddened by that. I wish we could keep her on forever, but she's got better stuff to do nowadays. So I just want to say thank you and congratulations on a great long career.
How many years has it been, Barbara? I know like a lot.
But
Well,
yeah,
that
once will
many.
keep you that long, right?
You started as like a teen, correct? Something like that as a teen, you know?
Yes,
Yeah. Well,
How many-
congratulations and thank you for your service.
it's
Thank
been a pleasure. It really
Child
has.
labor.
Working as admin and also on the board. It's been great. And I am going to miss it, but it's time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Barbara, and you served on other committees, I believe, in town too. Is that correct?
Just-
Over the years, has it always been health? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank. Do you know how many years on the Board of Health? You don't want to tell us. How many years? What was it? Oh, okay. All right. I'll stop pressing. Well, thank you very much for all your service. Thank
You. Okay, we ready to adjourn? I need
Yeah.
a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
And I'll second that.
Okay, and we'll vote. Dawn,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
and myself. And Dina, would you note the time? Because I don't see the time on
It
here.
is 10:18.
Can I just
Okay.
add one thing? I'd like to thank Mary as well, because this is her last meeting too, for serving and helping fill a vacated slot and, you know, getting the board back on a track. So I'd like to thank Mary as well. Thank you, Mary.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mary.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
All right.
we are
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.
Thanks, folks.